Today on Deer Talk Now, I'm going to teach you how to build your own arrows. So as any good carpenter will tell you, you measure twice and cut once. That's what we're going to do with our arrows here. So I've got two of my different arrows, and the reason why I do this is if I just take out of one batch, maybe that batch wasn't the way I wanted it. So I'm going to, just to be sure, I'm going to try to measure two different arrows. First thing I'm going to do is take out my field points. So the last thing I want to do is get that measurement wrong. That's going to add, an inch to the measurement. We don't want that. We take out our field points. These two arrows, this is a T64, this is a 5mm FMJ. Yeah, those are right on the money. Same length, so I know I'm good to go there. Take one of those arrows, and this saw is one of the best things I've ever invested in. It has a guide on here that allows me to lock it in, and I can measure the arrow from the nock point to the blade, and we line that up with our blade. We're all good to go. That's all set. We know what our length is. And now let's get to cutting our brand new arrows. Okay, one thing you might have noticed there, once I get it into the jig, I'm going to bring it real slowly, and as I approach the blade, I'm turning that shaft in a clockwise motion very slowly until it touches the blade, and keep that motion going until a piece cuts off. That way you're going to get the most consistent cut every single time. Now that we have our arrows cut, we need to prep those ends that were cut. So we can put the inserts in and they're going to glue in properly, and we're going to remove any burrs on the outside of the shafts that were cut. So let's get to that end of the process. Okay, step 2, we're going to prepare the arrows for the inserts. This is pretty easy. It's a 4-step process. It's just a little bit time consuming. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rough up the inside of the shaft. We're going to clean it out with some isopropyl alcohol. You could use acetone. You could just use about anything just to clean that out when you're done. And then we're also going to buff the end of the arrow where it was cut off to make sure that's smooth, so the insert will fit in there really nicely. With all the arrows that you get, the FMJs, you get an epoxy. This is called the HIT epoxy. It basically has the glue and an agent in there that you snip this, you pour it on. I usually use a little piece of plastic or something. You stir it around with a toothpick. That gets the glue to where it needs to be. You apply it to the insert, and then you can insert the insert with this special little tool that comes with your arrows. What this does, it helps from getting glue inside the insert, which is going to mess you up with your field points and your broadheads. Step 3, what we're going to do is prepare the shafts for the vanes. It's the same process, very simple. Wipe the shaft with some isopropyl alcohol, clean it off, dry it, make sure it's dry. Don't touch it with my fingers and get oil on there or anything like that. When it's dry, then it's time to put the vanes on, and we can do that with the Easy Fletch. Super easy, super fast. We can do a dozen arrows in no time. The key to fletching any arrow is your glue. You got to have good glue. They make special fletching glue for arrows, and also in lieu of that, you can use super glue type product if you can't get this. If you're going to fletch arrows, think ahead, because this stuff is not readily accessible in a lot of stores. You have to go to a sporting goods store. You can order it online, but it sometimes takes a little bit to get there. Super easy process, and we're just going to go through it right now. As I just take my FMJ, I put it in here, and it's going to self-align. There's a notch in there, and then basically what it'll do is it's going to line up those fletchings. And then with the glue is you just want a thin little line on there, and what I use is a little toothpick just to spread the glue on the vane. Okay, so we got that. So then what we do is we just take vanes up to the shaft, some of the top. secure it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to release that spring so it tightens. It depends upon what glue you use as far as how fast that's going to set. This is going to set within minutes, but I'm going to give it about, 15 minutes to let it set, and then move on to our next arrow. Set my arrows off to the side. Don't let anything touch the fletchings. It's as simple as that. So take a little time this summer, fletch yourself up a new dozen arrows, and have fun practicing.